We are letting our big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. Woo! Aren't we? So I really enjoyed the drive yesterday through the Valles Caldera, and there's so many movies that have been filmed there, city slickers, and sometimes I feel like that living out in Corrales. I'm a city slicker sometimes. I have goats out my bathroom window, and you just never know who I'm going to meet and, you know, who's going to be in the parade float and all that. So, and also Johnny Depp, if anyone likes, I mean, he's so versatile, right? Johnny Depp, he was also in The Lone Ranger, and that was filmed there too. And there's hot springs, and there's beautiful birds and wildflowers, and I was part of the wildlife. Are you part of the wildlife today too? Are we? Yes, we've been dancing already. I love that. So this drive was total funderful, and that's one of my favorite current words. It was funderful. We had a great time. And today we're going to talk about thinking as we please and having a framework for our life of gratitude and responsibility and compassion for ourselves. And this too is part of our co-creating of our lives. And so we'll take a look at that. And yesterday as I was driving through the Valles Caldera, it was like, you know how you ever do the wave in the baseball game? It was like, you know, wee! It was like this wee sensation of life being wonderful. And we can all leave with that today. So that same person who walked in the room may not be the same person who walks out. And I had that same experience this week. A friend of mine had invited me to a photography club. It's called Enchanted Lens. And just think if we all had an enchanted lens that we look through in life. And so what it was we sat there maybe for about 4 hours, and they had 550 pictures, but really we only had about a fifth of them, about 100 of them. And then they had these judges sitting at a table. And they were talking about composition. And if we think about our life, it's composed of certain things. And then tone. Boy, some of these pictures, they really had tone. And then some of these pictures, they really told a story. And if we think about the enchanted lens through which we look at our life and have even more of a sense of gratitude and responsibility and compassion for our lives, we can become even more enchanted with that lens that we look through with our life. And we can remember what we're connected to rather than what we're concerned with. So as we remember what we're connected to, we're not so much concerned about conditions and situations, but we can hang out in this connection. We can hang out in that fire of life that may be through the driving of the Valles Caldera, it may be through looking at the wildflowers, it may be through being part of the wildlife. And we have a creative process of life. We spoke about it a little bit last week, and how we have spirit and soul and body, and that we can allow our soul to come out and be a little bit more wonderful and have compassion for ourselves and gratitude for this life. And as we look at the Science of Mind symbol, we look and see that there's spirit at the very top. And we see that there's that participation in life and this thing that says yes. Can we turn it down just a little? Are we good? We have some people going like this. Are you good? Are you good? Okay, like life, we may have some ups and downs today. Anyone ever had some ups and downs? Yeah, good. So we're on the upswing today, and we're knowing that we have attitudes that work for us as we co-create our life in this creative process. And so these attitudes of life, of gratitude, what if we say thank you to everything that comes along our way? Whether it's thank you about some internal feeling that I have, or thank you about some situation. And then as I am grateful for that which I'm connected to, then I become less concerned about what I'm concerned about. And so we can look at this handout that we have, when we're delighted, we can be grateful when we're delighted. And we can take this into our back to school season. We're all kind of here, we're kind of going back to school. I know summer's not really over, but many of our kids have gone back to school. And so as we look at whatever we are grateful for increases, and to remind ourselves that where our attention goes, energy flows, whatever we are grateful for increases. So we brought this handout for everyone, and it can kind of be a nice frame around that enchanted lens of our life. And so an affirmation would be that I am grateful God is gracious. Because as we experience grace and love and kindness and joy, and we're going to talk a little bit about sowing seeds of freedom, which is our theme of the month, we become more grateful. And then sometimes there's things that happen that we are concerned about things in life, and we get to remember what we're connected to, that sometimes we might be disturbed about a situation. We might have to take a deep breath, or we might have to take a walk, or we might need to make a phone call to a friend. Anyone ever had that, where you need to reach out to a friend and make a phone call and say, gosh, would you listen? Would you listen for just a minute or two? And so if we're disturbed by something sometimes, we can remember that we're responsible for how we respond, how we're responsible for our life, and that whatever we are responsible for, we can change. Because if we own it and we claim it and we know it, it's something that can be transformed, right? Yeah? Yeah, so we be grateful, and then we realize that we have something that's responsible. And so I can say, I am responsible for my experience. No matter what that condition is, no matter what the concern is, I am responsible for this experience. And then sometimes we may experience others being disturbed. I know none of us in this room have ever experienced that. But I may be concerned about when others are disturbed. And so then I go to compassion. I go to the connection where I am compassionate. And whatever we are compassionate about can be healed. So it's an acknowledgement, it's an honoring. So I'm grateful, and I'm responsible, and I'm compassionate. And my affirmation for that is I am filled with compassion. And it starts here. It starts with us. So whenever I may be disturbed by something that's going on, some situation or whatever's happening, I go to compassion. And I'm filled with compassion. So we gave you these cartoons, and it's for us to lighten up a little bit. And so this is the attitude of co-creation in our life. So think if we look through this enchanted lens of being grateful and having some response, some respondability, we are able to respond in a compassionate way. So we've given this to you to test drive it, much like I was driving through the Valles Caldera, and it was really refreshing driving through there. And sometimes we get to remind ourselves of the divinity that's in our life, what we're connected to. And sometimes when we face difficulty, what we're concerned with when we face difficulty, or maybe we have an emotional jolt. It might not be like that enchanted lens thing where we were saying, well, it has a feeling tone of this, and we're standing outside of this. We might be right in the midst of whatever that emotional jolt might be. Or there might be some shift that's required in our collective cultural consciousness. And when we experience whatever that contrast or that adversity is, something that may appear to not resonate with us, whenever we experience that, we know that we have this catalyzing ability to jump to gratitude and that respondability and that compassion. And so we can be aware in the moment of what this moment has to offer, and not necessarily a past moment, but we're in this moment in the here and now, and we accept the gift. We say thank you and accept that gift, and we trust that all of those pieces are coming together for our good. And even in what may look like to be a misfortune, there is fortune in the midst. We can see the good no matter what our concerns are. We can be in this present moment, and after all, we can be joy-filled and happy and content. We can be content right here and now in this moment, right? This moment right here. And we have people to love you up. We can love each other up today and even bolster that and fortify that, kind of like a multivitamin. So I trust it's good to have those supplements, you know? Yeah. So we can allow our soul to come out and to be fortified and to have that, what we're connected to. We are connected in the love and oneness. We can listen to the divine connection. We can express the creativity that we're meant to be. We can do that with clarity. We can do that with harmony. We can just be who we are in this fully present moment and listen to the divine connection. And at the end of people's lives, when they're ready to lift off, as a friend of mine says, when they're ready to lift off and make their transition. I've been with several people, and I know that many people in this room have been with people when they're ready to make their transition. People think about what they're regretful for. And so I want us to know today that we can make those choices. It could be that we may have some regrets about choices that we made or that we didn't make. We may be more concerned about something than feeling our connection. And so what we get to do is wake up today and have that clear listening and the divine connection right here and right now. And to draw upon the wisdom of 5 regrets that people who may be on their deathbed have experienced. And it was originally published by Collective Soul, or Collective Evolution. Here I am. We're getting a little more soul food today, or I lovingly call it soul fuel. And it was so cool because, I'm just going to take a diversion here, bless you, that coming back on the 25 freeway, there was this billboard, and it said, refuel and replenish and refresh. And wouldn't that be a great formula, too? We wake up, and even before our feet hit the ground as we get out of bed, we would refuel, knowing that we've had a good night's sleep, and we're waking up, and that we're replenished, and that we're refreshed already. And so then I may not have so many regrets, because I'm in the here and now, and I'm waking up of whatever that sleepfulness might be. So does anyone want to know what those 5 regrets are? I know we have a cheat sheet up here, Cliff's Notes. A little Reader's Digest. So 5 regrets are, I wish that I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Whew, yeah. And number 2 is, I wish that I hadn't worked so hard. What is it, the work smarter, not harder? And so how many times do I remember that throughout the week and allow what wants to come forward and accept where I am right now? And 3, I wish that I'd had the courage to express my feelings. Sort of like that wave or that wee, like I'd expressed myself fully. And number 4 is, I wish that I'd stayed in touch with my friends. Whew. And as we feel our feelings, we may not feel so alone or abandoned or whatever that sadness might be. Number 5 is, I wish that I'd let myself be happier and let our light shine. Our big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. I wish that I had let myself be happier, more content. And so it was a palliative nurse, a hospice nurse, who had recorded these regrets and brought them together and gave them to Collective Evolution. And there may be other regrets too, but this is like the top 5. And so one thing before we even dive into this even more, there's a point to understand that we can make adjustments. That those choices, whatever we choose or whatever we don't choose, or whatever we're concerned with, and that we realize that we're really connected to something higher in our awakening as we have this focus and know that there is that awakening no matter what the form is happening in our life. Whether that's a call to be more healthier. And I'm loving this Cut the Sugar class on Thursday night. It's a call for optimum health. And to know that I'm making the best choices. So that was my affirmation. And then to use that gratitude and that responsibility, I'm responding, and I'm acknowledging and honoring those choices. And then to look at being compassionate that, wow, maybe we've been given a lot of sugar in our processed foods, and as I make that choice to even be more healthy, that then the well-being gets amped up and magnified, and then there's a clearer path because I'm thinking clearer about those choices. And then there's areas in our life. It might involve our finances. It might involve our relationships. And then we're using this formula of gratitude and responsibility and compassion for our relationships. And so what we can do is we can use past references of what we've been concerned with to understand. We can better understand our connection and to move as that connection. And we may want to make little adjustments as the way we move, and we can simply choose to do things in a different way. We're all learning all the time. Do we ever feel like, oh, I am learning all the time? Anyone ever feel that? Yeah. And so I sometimes get to slow down a little bit and to not have so many ideas of regret, but I get to remember my connection. So I get to remember that each moment I am co-creating with the divine. I am the partnered already as that big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shining. I have had Wheaties this morning. And that is a breakfast of champions, to remember we're that brilliant beam of radiant light. And so each moment we're making a new choice. So with regard to that first thing of that I wish I had lived my own life, I wish I'd had the courage to live my own life and be true to myself, and not just respond to the expectations of others, but to move forward and make those best choices. We can realize that our life is filled as we look back and we clearly see that we're strengthened by that compassion and caring that we give ourselves, that we give to others, and that we have the freedom of choice in this moment. And what about number 2? I wish I hadn't worked so hard. And that point came from every male patient that this palliative person had nursed, and they missed their children's youth and their partner's companionship. And women also spoke of this regret that we worked too hard. But most were from an older generation, and many of the female patients had not been breadwinners, and then all of the men had nursed a deep regret of spending their lives kind of being on this treadmill of whatever that existence was. So we know here in this room that life is beyond just existence, that we can shine and that we can live in this place where maybe I close my computer. I just close my computer and I take a walk. Or I go outside and I call a friend. Or I write some ideas down. Or I take a few minutes to be still. Maybe 5 minutes. Not too much, but I get to be still and to have that sense of the presence, the connection of what I am connected to. And so I can make those choices. And I was at a brunch with some friends, and we all had our mobile phones, and there was about 8 people around this table, and we all pulled out our cell phones and put it in the middle of the table. And we said, okay, the first person who picks up the phone gets the bill. It was the longest lunch I've ever had. And there finally came a point where we said, well, are we complete? We'd kind of run out of conversation, believe that or not. We'd run out of conversation. We said, are we complete? And so then the bill came, and then we all grabbed our phones and went home. But imagine just making that choice. It really freed up the energy for us to have a deep connection and to realize what we're connected to at all times. And number 3, which was expressed at the brunch, was I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Now, some of us may think, well, I know a lot of people who are expressing all the time, right? We may be expressing complaints. We may be expressing drama. We may be expressing things, but it may not be our feelings that we have as far as having a complete conversation or providing that space of gratitude and respondability and compassion, where we can either call somebody, and texting is not the same as calling someone or sitting at a brunch and sharing. Facebook is not the same as having a conversation, as having a phone, reaching out and touching someone. Remember that commercial? Reaching out from our heart of hearts. So authentic communication, it's when we express our feelings. And I may say, Diana, I feel sad. Would you mind going to lunch with me? Or I may say, oh, Dean, I feel like having a banana split but I'm in this cut the sugar class. Or I may say, Paula, I feel kind of abandoned or betrayed. Would you mind taking a walk with me? I just want to share, and I appreciate your compassion, and I'm grateful for that. I may just ask for that. Now, I don't demand what I want if I'm concerned about something, but I ask. I ask for what I want. And there's a little bit different difference there in our relationships. We don't necessarily want to demand what we want, but we can ask. We can ask for what we want. So instead of creating whatever that drama is or the complaint or whatever, we may be creating fulfillment, and it's our friends who can help us with that. And number 4 is, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And there's so many benefits about sitting around that table at brunch and to listening and saying, oh, you do that. Oh, that is so great. You do that. And to recognize what people do. Oh, you do that. That is so awesome. And to have someone say, wow, I support you in that. And to be that generous person who is supportive. So we might go visit someone. We might make a call. We might take a walk. It could be that if we don't have so many friends, we just hang around here and there's new people in that Thursday night class. Whoa, there's so many new people. That is so awesome that we can be inclusive and enjoy. Now, I'm not saying to be creepy, don't just hang around here, but I'm not saying that in a, don't be creepy here. But we never know what difference we make in people's lives. And it was, I get goosebumps. There was just this week where someone had been in touch with me who I had not heard from in many years, and I'd been of service in another community. And he said, years ago, you said I was going to be a fantastic musician. And he said, I didn't know it at the time. And I am now, and I'm in the Hollywood Bowl. Yeah, whoa. We never know, however many years ago, when you say, you are a fantastic musician, you are that, or you do that, or that's fantastic. Do some more of that. Be that. And so he is now a magnificent musician. And it makes me happy, and you just never know what impact we're going to have. Some words, just one sentence decades later. And number 5, that also helps with number 5, is I wish that I had let myself be happier, right? And sometimes it's all too sincere or serious, like so serious. And happiness emerges. It's just this natural occurrence, right? And it's like a yawn. You know how you yawn to get more oxygen? It's just a natural occurrence. Anyone ever yawn? And it's actually a compliment if you do, because I don't mind if you yawn during this time, because it's a compliment, and it means we're getting that oxygen to our brain so that we're having that connection, that spiritual connection. And so it's like a yawn. Happiness emerges. Or it's like laughter. Laughter. And happiness emerges when we find contentedness. And I saw a thing about Goldie Hawn. You know the great philosopher, Goldie Hawn? She was experiencing, she had her 4-year-old, Kate Hudson. Her 4-year-old said, Mommy, what is God? And she thought, oh, well, how do I describe this experience? And so Goldie told Kate, she said, that time just before you have some laughter and it just bubbles up, and there's that joy, there's that contentedness. You know that time just before you laugh. That's what, goosebumps. That's what the experience of God is. And for that I'm grateful. And I know that I'm able to have that in my life, and to be compassionate with myself. And so that's some sort of a modifier or a tool that we can use. We can know that that natural contentedness can bubble up. We can also take time to be still and to recognize our connection as the divine, because we're already unified and connected with that. So in number 5 that says, I wish I'd let myself be happier, it's surprisingly common. Yet we have the comfort here and the connection and the caring enough for ourselves that there was that fear of change or that doubt or whatever that worry that would be what we're concerned with rather than remembering what we're connected to, that people long to laugh. They long to laugh and be happy when they had some regrets. And they long to have silliness in their life again. And so we get to lighten up and let our big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. That's a great mantra, isn't it? So Ernest Holmes also reinforces that compassion and caring are the ties that bind us together in mutual understanding and in the unified attempt to uncover the divinity within each other. It's like lifting off. And compassion is the most gentle of all human virtues. So why not go in that gentle direction? For it is the outpouring of the divine givingness through all. And that givingness, as that laughter bubbles up, as that contentment bubbles up, we are sowing seeds of freedom and thinking as we please. And we remember what we're connected to. Not just what we're concerned with. We remember what we're connected to. And today, too, we'll have an experience of that. We're having visioning, which it's applicable to all areas of our life. We're doing this on the fourth Sunday of every month after service, and it's wonderful because it affects our individual lives, and we optimize and sensitize that divine connection, and that just spills out into our individual lives and also in this community. So it's a beautiful opportunity. The people here who were here last month said, let's do it again. Let's have that. Let's have some more of that. Think about going around in life. Let's have some more of that. Let's have some more of that. There's so much joy. And here in Paradise Hills, we're having an impact. We're knowing that our consciousness of love and wonderment, love and oneness, and it kind of makes me wonder sometimes, to be curious, really, because we get to be curious in that fulfillment. And I'm humbled and delighted that Arun Gandhi, this morning, I'm sitting at my desk, doing little love notes for everyone in this room, little ticky-typing little love notes. And I'm humbled that Arun Gandhi, who's the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, friended me on Facebook. And I'm thinking, whoa, we've done this season of nonviolence before. And as we know, Mahatma Gandhi was a man of compassion. He was really an apostle of love and kindness and had a social impact. And his grandson, and I think of peace, too. I think of peace in our lives and what's possible and that power of possibility that's available in our lives. And so that there's goodness, there's compassion, there's gratitude, there's that way of freedom. And I invite us all to experience that at another level today, to just kick it up a notch and let our bright, brilliant, big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. And what a difference that's happening right now. So I invite us to have an experience of that which we're connected to, and to just know as we turn within in this moment of inner celebration that it is a divine moment and that there is so much love, there is the infinite presence which is ever available, and there is the connection of this infinite flow. And so knowing that there is this being in the flow, and that there is that which is of compassion and peace and joy, and there is fulfillment, and there is the highest and best which is happening right here and right now. There is divine guidance, there is love intelligence, there is the gratitude and the gratefulness of spirit right here in this moment. And as I know I'm an integral part of the whole of this beautiful universe that is complete and whole and in divine order, I know that I am connected. And just saying this in the first person so each and every one can make it their own, knowing that there is the inspiration and the upliftment right here in the full acceptance of gratitude, and that ability to just say yes and to be compassionate with ourselves and with others, and to have the delight and to lighten up in that light, and knowing that there is so much love in that brilliant beam, and that there is the creative expression that is in all of its fullness, in the wholeness and the wellness and the well-being that is right here and right now, and just spills over and emerges in this beautiful community. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share and care for one another, knowing that there is the inspiration of being so very grateful, as I know that this word has power and is fulfilled already as a divine ideal. And so I release and let go, and knowing that there is that which is refueled and replenished and refreshed right here in this moment. And so be it, and so it is.